No, the stream's not frozen. I was just holding a pose. So, good afternoon, folks. I'm going to, as I was saying in this morning's video, be doing a little more debarking on that piece of juniper. But before that, I wanted to talk about She-Hulk a little bit. Yeah, I know, nobody really wants to. But if you've seen the clip that's making the latest rounds, the one where she goes off about how, uh, she has to watch what she says or hold in her anger and all this kind of stuff. Sure, okay, fine. But that's because feminists have forgotten that all humans are animals, not just women. Okay? I hate to tell you, ladies, but men have an awful lot of anger that we control. A lot. And it's just so common to us, so ordinary and expected, that it just doesn't even come to mind to discuss it. It's something we've done from time out of memory. Controlled violence, or holding on to our tempers, or, just not reacting like an absolute savage to everything that makes us even mildly unhappy. Where do you think road rage comes from? That's a lack of repression of that internal anger. And the idea that women somehow have it so much harder than men because they have to constantly hang on to their temper or hold in their anger. No, you're an absolute idiot. Whoever wrote that scene, you're an absolute dumbass. You clearly have no understanding of the experience of men. Otherwise, you would never try to make the experiences of women so alien to it. I don't know who's writing this shit, but they really need a good kick in the pants. And, like, the idea that life is so much easier if you're a man. No, no, life is not easier if you're a man. Life is constant struggle, no matter who you are. Life is a constant struggle. Whether it's just the struggle of getting out of bed in the morning, or having to find a job, or finding a wife, or a girlfriend, or starting a family, there is always struggle. One of my subscribers, Violence is Life, her actual nickname is exactly descriptive of her attitude. Life is constant conflict. And she's not wrong. There's always some sort of conflict. For example, for me, I have a conflict between, hey, I could stay inside because it's a nice day, it's kind of hot out, I don't like the heat all that much, not when it's really, really hot, and I certainly don't like the sun, I'm fucking ginger. But that conflicted with, geez, I could stay inside and play Skyrim all day, or I could go outside and ride my bike for an hour, which I very well may do, even though it's kind of windy and I have a little bit of an aerodynamic issue. Uh, Surprisingly, being curvy doesn't actually make you more aerodynamic. Go figure. Or I could come out here and I could do some actual work. Now, you guys know I love woodworking, so between those three options, only one of them requires me to use no energy, and that's to stay indoors and play Skyrim. There's your basic conflict. I mean, there's always conflict somewhere. Everyone has some sort of conflict. And yeah, I know I do tend to relate this to myself personally, because that's how every human being relates to the world, personally. Not on a group level. Ooh, women always. No. No, She Hulk, that's not true. You have a new problem. Or at least you should, but apparently you're such a Mary Sue about it, you can do anything better than the Hulk immediately. And he's had decades. Um, and there's another clip where he basically harangues her about how he's been doing this shit a lot longer, and she's refusing to listen to him. Well, of course she's refusing to listen to him. She's a strong, independent woman. Doesn't need no man. Doesn't want to be mansplained to. Blah da fluck and blah. I mean, it just gets stupid at a certain point, where even the people writing this should be giving themselves a shake and going, this is garbage. Why am I doing this? This character should not react this. This is an educated woman. This is a woman who supposedly spent what law school is 4 years for a bachelor, and then I assume you had to have a master's at law to even apply to the bar. So that's at least 2 more years. So I mean, 6 or 7 years of schooling, let alone how much experience she has. She's an established lawyer, otherwise she wouldn't be being sought to be part of some other organization or company or firm or whatever the hell the term is that they use for this. Buddies putting together this group to handle superhuman or enhanced or whatever the hell term they're using. Oh, there's a dog going nuts. Whatever term they're using for the empowered individuals. It's absolutely retarded. And I mean retarded in a non-medical way. So no, YouTube, you don't get to pull me for that. The version of retarded I'm using here is the artificial force acting on an object or a person. Someone who is retarding the growth of someone else. Things like that. Not using it as a medical term at all. Because I don't think She-Hulk is developmentally delayed or mentally handicapped or any of those terms that fell under the other usage of retarded. I think that she's, I don't want to say willfully ignorant because I don't think it's willful. I think it's artificial. And again, this is where that artificial retardation comes in. The idea that human beings don't share common experiences, regardless of what gender they are, is absolutely asinine. It's backward. It's biological defiance. It's scientific ignorance. Hell, it's folkloric ignorance. Anyway, this is giving me a patch of psoriasis in the middle of my nose. I don't need that. Anyway, I'm going to finish my smoke and I'm going to go to work. I do realize I haven't shared this out. I mean, I make it very clear in my description. I do this randomly, whenever I feel like it. I don't schedule these live streams. Scheduling these would be pointless, because even when I said this morning I plan to do it this afternoon, there is always potential for real life to interfere. And there's always potential for nature to interfere. There could have been a storm that prevented me from coming out here. There could have been a power outage. Any number of things could have happened. It could have clouded over to the point that it would be too dark to be at. Well, okay, I have a light switch, but still, you see my point. But with this She-Hulk thing, and this is kind of the last word I want to put on this, they even managed to bait and switch the people they told it was going to be like Ally McBeal, because a lot of the courtroom scenes apparently have been cut. So, attorney at law, not so much. Yeah. It'd be kind of like cutting out the Daredevil lawyer bits. Like, okay, yeah, you're showing us awesome shots of Daredevil fighting in a hallway, but you're showing us nothing about who the guy is as a person. Yeah, something bit me again there. Probably a mosquito. Anyway, what else have we got going on? And to be honest, that may have been a wasp and I was just not paying attention. So yeah, I've got the flute to work on. I've got those cedar bouquet boards that I'm going to try and get cut. I'm going to try and get my finances into such a state that I can actually manage to purchase a cheap bandsaw so I can resaw those boards. I want to be able to laminate them, and for that I want the boards to be about half of the thickness that they are. Other than that, it's time to put the apron on and go to work. I'll be right back. So the of this piece so far, and I'll move so you can see it. The debarking is about halfway done. What I'm going to do now is figure out a way to clamp that down. Take some of the sapwood that you can see. I'll be taking some of the sapwood off of that. What I'm thinking to use is a spoke shave. Possibly this one. This is actually a hand-me-down from one of my uncles who passed away not too long ago. And it's in pretty rough shape, but it should serve. Just show you the blade here. You can see the blade is more or less got a fairly good edge on it. What I'm doing now is just getting the blade so it's just barely outside of the throat, so that I'm not taking a really deep bite out of this. Oh. Okay. Murphy's Law. Okay. So that should be... That's too deep. Okay, so according to my stream, I was just disconnected, so I do apologize. Apparently my internet is dog shit at this hour on a Friday. I'm guessing that's probably because a lot of people are watching shows, or it could just be a momentary interruption. Now, I can brace it this way and do my draw cuts up towards my face, though I'd rather not. Or I can find a way to brace it that doesn't require me to risk cutting my face, my pretty face. Okay, a little bit of a noise warning. This can be squeaky. Okay. Now, I should be able to use my trusty round stock holder for this. Noise warning for banging now. Now, is that the same width? Yeah, close enough. Okay. Just to... Actually, that will work better if I do it that way. Put it on a bit of an angle. Cracking it again. As I've said before, some of my equipment is pretty cheap, so even this table that I'm using, this vise and that vise, they're not the best of equipment. So sometimes I have, oops, don't want to lose that cable in the garbage. Just a moment. I'm just going to wind the cable around a little bit. Get it around the camera stand so it will not fall to the floor or into the garbage. Not that there's anything particularly gross in my garbage, just that I'd rather not have to clean the cable more than once in a month. That's okay. Okay. So as you can see here, I have a clamping piece. This piece here is just for spacing, to keep this space even. Okay. This piece I actually did in college when I was doing that course, and I will be changing the camera angle shortly. But this allows me to work on round pieces because you can see that the depression in here is extremely asymmetrical, and because of that, generally it's made of poplar, and poplar being a softwood, I can generally get a very good grip on the piece I put between these jaws without having to worry about marring the piece I'm actually working on. And I need a clamp for that. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to move one of my small clamps on the away. Actually, I think the better way to do this might be to clamp that there. And, well, lost the towel now. Yes, I do use an old ragged towel for a drop cloth. And I think instead of doing it with the piece facing that way, I'm going to do it this way instead. And get a clamp on here to hold that while I draw shave it this way. Again, I would prefer to have a draw knife. Unfortunately, I don't own one. And it's one of those somewhat arcane tools now that rarely is something you're going to find in the average hardware store. That's a little too far to the side. I'm just moving my clamp in because I want the clamping force to be as centered as possible downward, and that should be good and solid. Okay, I'll lift that just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm leaning my weight against the table just to hold it against the wall, and okay, I need to take that knife up a little higher. That needs to draw just a little bit less. That should be good. That's still a little deep. You can see how thick the shaving is here, because you can kind of see through it a little bit if I had a light behind it. Hang on. I do have a light. This may be somewhat blinding, so I apologize. But you can see, let me see. Okay, you can see on the edges here, like down that way, that you can kind of see through the edges. You should have that effect pretty much through the entire shave, or shaving, rather. So, if I come to this side of... Okay, no, that's a bit too thick too. Yeah, it's still too thick, so I need to adjust my blade again. And we drop a little. There, okay. Oh, and I've got my blade uneven now. I apologize again. I see the stream kicking in and out. I do see I have a viewer. Let's see if you've said anything. Excellent. And gone again, so I'm guessing that was probably just YouTube telling me I was watching, which is pointless. And as you can see, I've got the blade too high now. I'm not taking any material up. So, now I will point out that putting pressure directly down on a blade with your finger is generally a bad idea. But when you're adjusting, it's not so much. Okay. Let's have another good look at this blade. I wonder if I have it upside down. It's possible, but unlikely. I'm fairly certain there's only one way to put these in properly. Oh no, I may very well have it upside down. Yeah. I'm just going to check by flipping it over. And I think I did have it upside down. To be fair, spoke shave is not exactly one of the tools I was trained on formally. And this being an antique, no, that doesn't work that way. Okay, this will work on the same principle as a plane. So where you're there, you can see the bevel. Your bevel would go, the angled side of the bevel would go down, so that you're shaving this way along the blade, or along the piece. And just to show how sharp this isn't, it's not even, it's barely scraping up dead skin cells. So, try this again. Hope for the best. And I do have another spoke shave, but the other one I have is substantially larger. And I don't want to be taking too much material at any one time with a stroke. So that, I believe, is good. Well, I may have to adjust again in a moment. Yeah, that's too much. Okay. The tools can be a little finicky. And I see the seam is cutting in and out quite a lot, so I'm going to get this. Okay, that's really not helpful. It may be that the blade is simply too blunt to cut well, so I'm going to pull this apart and just check the blade by itself. And just see if that will cut on the angle I want it to. Yeah, no, it's not really doing the job. All else fails, I could switch back to using a simple knife to do carving, but I prefer not to. What I'm going to try again is just to get that angle right and see if I can't get a decent draw through this. If I can't, the problem is most likely that the blade is simply blunt and it will need to be sharpened, which is one of the other, yeah. Okay, that's very deep cutting. Okay. You have to be a little more rugged with it, I guess. And just press it down and hope this works. And see, now that's probably going to draw too deep. Yeah, that's far too deep. And I do apologize for the state of the stream flickering, but there's not a hell of a lot I can do about that at this point. Okay. I think I've got a pretty good depth here now. There we are. And the blade is pretty blunt. I'm having to pull pretty hard to pull that through. So I'm going to try loosening that off just a touch. I think that might have moved about a half a millimeter. Oh, that's much better. Okay. So, as I was showing you before, this is the last shave I just did. As I was showing you before, these should be pretty much paper thin. They're not. If I try a slightly different grip, yeah, it's still coming up pretty thick. So all I'm doing here is just shaving this off. There we are. Also, you should be aware too that this tool is probably, it's got a plastic sticker on it, so it's probably at the earliest sometime in the 80s. Given the condition that it's in, it does say made in England, and it does say number 63 Stanley on it. It's quite possible this is actually meant to be for boat building, because it does have a fairly curved back to it. And I'm thinking that's probably indicative of its original purpose, being for shipwrights. Though this small, I can't believe, or I can't really imagine it was meant for anything other than detail work. And given the difficulties I'm having with it, I'm just going to switch to the larger one. There we are. So I'll save that guy for later, and I'll give the larger one a shot. I believe I have the blade tuned where I want this one. Yeah. Now, let me see if I can get a good long strip up here and show you exactly what I mean by the depth of cut being a problem. Okay, I'm getting length now, I just need girth. I know. I realize what I just said. There we are. Okay, so there's a piece here that has a significant amount of width on it. So, just to do the light check again, just to show you. Let's see here. So you can see there that the light pretty much comes through the entire size, or the entire cut, the shaving. That's generally as deep as you want to go with one of these. The problem I have, of course, is that I'm not using a tool that's meant for round stock. And therefore I'm taking much smaller shavings than I want in terms of their width. Much narrower, I should say. Okay, I've got 2 people watching and a like, so I'm guessing there's some live chat by now. Hello, Shade Master and Christopher Everard. How you guys doing? These should be retitled Arden's Morning Wood. They should be, except I do this in the afternoon. Now that I've just seen how sweaty I am. One sec. Yes, I do keep my bandanas in a mini eclairs box. And at the risk of triggering my Belgian and American friends, this one's British. So the only reason I'm really putting this on is just to keep from sweating onto the work. I don't personally care if I drip with sweat, but dripping moisture onto wood that's dry enough to work is generally very bad for the wood. Let's see, any other chats since I stopped? Work that wood. I don't care much for British land, just please don't wear a French one. No, I probably won't wear a French one, though I might pick up one for Saint-Pierre-Miquelon. Let me just bring this back so you guys can see what I'm doing again. So right now, all I'm doing is using a spoke shave to clear some of the sapwood off of this piece. Get a Belgian one. I very well might. Can't I just take a German one and flip it? But right now what I'm doing is just clearing off the sapwood to get down to the heartwood for this flute. I'm not 100% sure this is the best tool for this job because, as you can see, it's taking very small shaves. But while that one takes deeper cuts, actually this may very well be the best choice. Going to be in my way shortly. Oh, that smells incredible. I really wish I could share the scent of juniper with you guys because it does smell so good when it cuts new. And I'm guessing from the camera that you can't really see the grain in this too well. No, it's not really helping with the inspection light. Anyway, pretty much all I'm doing today is is taking sapwood down. Once I have the sapwood down to the dark heartwood, which is the inner layer here, which I can't actually show you on camera without unclamping. Once I have it down to that level, I'll take this piece, rotate it 90 degrees, do the same thing, 90 strip, 90 strip, and then it'll be down to heartwood. Once that's done, I'll be taking the I'll be taking the bark off of this end, and this end with the sapwood remaining on it will be used as a working handle. 3 viewers and 3 likes. Well, thank you very much. Let's see, who have I got here? Violence. Hi, Violence. I was talking about you a few minutes ago. about how you have the attitude that life is constant that life is constant struggle. Shades of Dominion says it's not real until I wear one made by Hugo Boss. Fair point. Not the same color order. German is top to bottom black, red, yellow. Belgian is left to right, black, yellow, red. Close enough, isn't it? No, I'm just teasing. Life is unrelenting war, as Violence says. Yeah, yeah. Definitely struggle. And I was referencing the latest She-Hulk clip that's going around where she harangues Bruce about how women have to, or at least how she, as a woman, has to constantly keep her anger in check and therefore does it infinitely more than the Hulk, who's a man with rage issues. No, sorry. Men are inherently wired for violence. That's why we were the hunters. Anything else? Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm going back to work here. And Violet says, I don't know, I'm an angry person. Well, you're Cajun, aren't you? I really give the French a hard time, don't I, Christopher? It's all in love, mes amis. Anyway, back at it. I'll be silent probably for the next few minutes until you start to see really dark wood here. Once I do that, I'll take a break for a minute, have a bit of chat with you guys. Just to let you know, the stream has been off and on, so you may lose me, and I may come back. What the hell? Oh, there it is. Had the angle slicking around. I do apologize for that horrible shriek. I think I can do something about that. There we are. I'd say what's happened here for that shriek, there's a little bit of buildup here, and it might be either worn paint or sap from other projects. So this little bit of buffing pad should take that off well enough. Huh. No, I think that needs a scrape. So we get a crappy knife that I don't end up using the blade on, and we have a go at it. Okay, that's a combination of old paint and corroded metal. This is, as I said earlier, an antique-ish item that was a bit of a hand-me-down from one of my uncles when he passed away. That should be good. Okay. And yes, I do have a tendency to throw my knives back into a block when I'm done with them. What do we got here? Unrelenting war, angry person. Don't lose your time with MCU. You're way better off woodworking. I took a nap. Now I am fixing to wash dishes. Like a typical male, I absolutely hate doing dishes. I can do them, but I'd far rather cook. Which is generally the deal with live-in girlfriends and fiancés that I've had. Well, the one fiancé. Yeah. I need to find a woman who loves to clean, because I absolutely hate cleaning, even when I'm doing it for my own shop. I'd far rather not, but it is one of those things that has to be done. How close am I? I've got about 1 millimeter or so to go. So before I do that, I'm actually going to shave a little of that end off, so I have an indicator of how much depth I have left. remember, kids, cut away from yourselves. And also remember, a dull knife will cut you faster than a sharp one. I really need to sharpen this one. Now, I'm hoping there's a fairly stark dividing line between the sapwood and the heartwood when I get there. Yeah, I'm starting to see some heartwood here now. So this darkest spot that you can see there, that is actually the heartwood starting to poke through. Oh, you can't actually see that. Let me just bring the camera over a little more for a minute. And, whoa. Okay, you stand up. So this little tiny bit of dark spot here, which isn't really that visible. Let me try a light. Okay, that's not helping either. Anyway, just to clarify, there is a little bit of darker wood showing, and what that means is I'm down to the heartwood here, so I have a target in mind now, and all I'm doing is just lining, evening up that grain so that and that's heartwood starting to show through there, so when that starts to show through there, then I know I can start moving to a different angle, start working again. Okay. And as I say, the heartwood on most species... Oh, there's actually a bend there, that's why I can't get down into it. Okay. There it is. Okay. So, heartwood on most species tends to be a fair bit harder than the sapwood. The sapwood generally being the lighter layer on the outer edge of the tree, underneath the bark. There it is. And we're down to the heartwood here. So, take a few more passes here just to get a little deeper. Come on. Doing this gently because I don't want to tear up too much of the heartwood. I just want to expose it. So, and in case you guys are wondering, there is nothing smoother than a piece of wood that's been cut with a blade. You can sand it this smooth, but it takes a lot more work. I'm getting to the point now that this is awkward to work at this angle, so I'm shortly going to have to change to a different angle. And I'm leaving some pretty ragged tool marks there, which I'm not, ow, particularly pleased about. I think that might bleed. Yeah, okay, so I'm definitely into the heartwood there. You can tell by the way the blade skipped. Plus with wood, you occasionally have issues like reversing grain or compression wood. I need to move that because if I end up bouncing it, I don't want that hitting me. Anyway, yeah, you occasionally have things like reversed grain. Your grain pattern can be running this way through most of a single piece, and then all of a sudden do some very weird angular changes. It's not bleeding. I'm good. And when that happens, you will get skipping like I had here. I think the big issue there, from what's happening here now, is just that I was going from softer grain sapwood to harder grain heartwood. Now, let's see if I can get a bit more of this down. There we go. And something I remember from being a kid and using these is it does take some time to get the technique down for how you hold. You're actually angling with this hand and pulling with this one. Although, if I chose to, I imagine I could probably do both with both hands. But I find it easier to do it with the opposing grip technique. Okay. Okay, I think I'm pretty well done at this angle now. And this is mostly just cleaning strokes at this point, just to move that sapwood away and to move that heartwood revelation line back a bit more. I'm a little disappointed that I've still got branch knots in the heartwood, but can't really avoid that with a naturally harvested piece. So at this point, I'm going to finish a few more strokes, and then I'm going to take a break, have a bit of chat, have a drink of water, and then rearrange this for an easier angle to work, which really is just going to require taking this clamp off, rotating, putting the clamp back on. Whew, okay, let's have a sit down. And of course there goes my cable again. Just 1 second. Okay. I really ought to use a cable hanger in here, but I'll make do with the hook that might. Now, hopefully, I'm still connected, and you guys can still hear me. He is a majestic specimen. Who's a majestic specimen? I certainly am not. Let me see here. Come a bit closer, baby. That's actually one of my favorite country songs. Come a little closer, baby. What do we got here? Took a nap, fixing the dishes, based. Violence treats it like a meditation, and an excuse to watch videos. Yeah, usually that's what I do when I'm doing dishes or something else. That's kind of one of those things you just have to do. Christopher Everard says, I have to say, Art, and seeing your working is inspiring and motivating. I appreciate that. It's part of the reason I decided to start streaming it. I really enjoy it. Shades of Dominion says he is a majestic specimen. Christopher Everard responds, yes, he is. A big, fine Canadian Newfoundlander boy. Thank you, I appreciate that. Nice, thank you. A few more strokes, we're almost done, guys. Yeah, I know. Dude, I'm a woodworker. I mean, the level of the sense of humor is pretty immature. Ironically, when I was in my course, there was a woman close to my age, and yeah, damn it, Jim, I'm a woodworker, not a miracle man. But there was a woman who was close to my age, married with, if I recall correctly, 3 kids, and if we sat too close to each other during one of the academic classes, we were making very immature jokes, puerile, in fact. Also, anytime the instructor happened to mention hardwood, one of us would snicker, which would set the other one off. Yeah. I've said it before that cabinet making is kind of that weird intersection between art and science. Because what we do generally involves a hell of a lot of math, some very potentially arcane technology and techniques. I mean, how many people know what a spoke shade even is, let alone how to use one? Um, and um, at the same time, there is a degree of creativity and improvisation that is necessary for some woodworking projects that simply has no application anywhere else. That combination is rarely applied to any other walk of life. Um, yeah, see, you see my point, don't you? Violence, right? Somebody says hardwood, and everybody goes, right? um, yeah. Please don't clip. Don't clip. Don't clip. Oh god. Please don't let Monkey know I do these. I have a feeling that if Based Ape finds out I'm doing these and realizes some of the things I say, he's going to be scouring them for clips. Actually, I really don't mind. A good laugh is a good laugh, no matter what the source. Just having a bit of playtime with one of my pieces here. This is one of the thicker shavings I took off. And the really neat thing about them is you can make unicorn horns. Simple craft. But, no, Monkey has the pox. No, Monkey is pregnant, remember? Actually, didn't he have the old pox, the one that was locking everyone down, the one that can't really be named? How silly! How very, very silly. First husband is a carpenter, so I'm familiar with the structural frame of buildings. Used to be my job working for a father-in-law's remodeling company. Used nail gun, run wire, and plumbing. Oh, cool! So they were more than just carpenters; they were wiring and plumbing. That's awesome. So that's, oh my. Contracting, basically. Um, LOL, not the pox. No, I highly suspect he doesn't have the pox. He may have the S1. Mm. Sorry, the one that starts with Koof. But even so, I mean, the CDC in the States has come out and made some interesting amendments to their policies and to how people should be treated when they have it at this point. Who said be right back? Colonel. Oh, yeah, it was Colonel. Okay. Need some of that water. Yeah, the changes to the policies are pretty interesting, considering basically some of the memes that are going around. Cabinets is a fair bit different, actually. Yeah. One of the good things about cabinet work is that I get to work indoors all the time. I'm a ginger, and having to spend any amount of time outdoors in any amount of sunlight is, well, bad. Let's see. New husband has me learning about metal buildings and welding. That's awesome. Welding is a skill that I really wish I had. There have been times when, because it's so hard to find a job cabinet making, especially with the price of wood, there have been quite a few times when I've heavily regretted my decision to do cabinet making and really wish I'd done welding instead. But then I see some of the welding videos on YouTube and TikTok, and they make me go, why didn't you just buy something that would do the purpose instead of wasting all that metal to build something that's going to destroy your hands? Like the guy who uses angle iron, 2 pieces of angle iron welded together to make a handle for a hammer he then makes out of angle iron, which is probably 6 hours worth of work to make something that does the function but doesn't have the form to really be ergonomic. Things like that, which is part of the reason I hate TikTok. Another reason being, well, it's Chinese spyware. Yeah, no, no. If you've seen back when I first started to access TikTok videos, I believe they were being turned into YouTube Shorts, and probably the first couple of hundred, were trades stuff or skills stuff. And this was before, I guess, the Chinese government figured out that, hey, we can subvert hammers made with rebar. Yeah, but I'm willing to bet you've probably made a handle out of something that isn't made of metal. Uh, Christopher Everett, I'll buy 2,000 euros of scrap metal to make a hammer because it's cheaper than buying a hammer directly. Christ, seriously? I mean, one of the things that's kind of nice about being in a town where there's at least a hardware store is I don't have a big problem finding very common tools. Axes, hammers, uh, small hand saws, things like that, because these are still things that the average Newfoundland man uses, especially in the rural areas. Uh, oh, yeah, TikTok is exceptionally stupid. But and I don't really care if I get removed from TikTok because I don't have an account and I don't intend to start one. I'm relatively sure TikTok is basically a Chinese government psyop designed to make people in the West dumber. Uh, when I first started watching TikTok, like I say, 90% of the content I was getting was skills and industry based. And within probably a couple of weeks, if not less, I'm being shown things like cat girls and ahagao faces, and just looking at, like, why does anyone watch this stuff? But this is what's popular with the really young crowd, because they'll watch this makeup tutorials. Why? Or how to use a filter properly. My personal favorite in that particular vein being one that I saw, I think it was yesterday or the day before, of a Chinese woman who forgot to put the filter on, and she is clearly of an advanced age, and the minute the filter kicks in, she's in her 20s. if that. Violence says, I always avoided TikTok. I just had a bad feeling about it before I knew it was Chinese spyware. Yeah, pretty much the first time I heard about TikTok, it was basically being called Chinese spyware. Um, and I've never accessed that site directly. TikTok turns kids into idiots. Yeah, Western kids. If you're in China, TikTok shows you mostly industrial and skills-based stuff. Heavy science, chemistry stuff. Um, what's his name? Nile Red, I think is his name. He does a lot of chemistry content. Some of it incredibly interesting. And his videos were among the most common that I saw when I first was accessing TikTok through the YouTube Shorts system. And now, I would be shocked if I ever saw one. And I've never disliked a single video. I've liked them, and I think I've even subscribed to him at one point. And yet, I don't see any of his content. But I get presented with things like, well, just silly shit. And it's absolutely sickening, some of it. Stuff like, my dog is on a vegan diet. So you're abusing your dog is what you're telling me. Okay, thanks for the heads up. You know, it's one thing to tell a person that they should eat vegan. It's quite another to tell a dog that they should, considering how much different our biological needs are. And personally, I'm of the opinion that humans should be eating meat too. We're basically omnivorous. There's not a heck of a lot going on here today, but then again, I do live in a small, quiet town, so that's nice. Um, Violence says what we're all thinking. Veganism is immoral. So is pacifism. Um, yeah. I had a friend in Alberta who was raised Mennonite, and her pacifism didn't extend to what she perceived to be a personal insult when she said to me what she was planning to name her children, and I kind of laughed at one of them because it was Bruce. And the reason I laughed, of course, is because half the gay male population on the planet is named Bruce. Just happened to work out that way. But she took that very personally, essentially ended our friendship over it, and the only good thing to come out of TikTok is libs of TikTok. Absolutely. Christopher Everett says, I need more meat in my fridge. This is true. I really... Well, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But to go back to the veganism, pacifism thing, my friend essentially broke off our friendship because of what she perceived to be a personal insult, when really it was just the name had struck a connotation in my head that made me chuckle. I meant no offense to her, of course. She's my friend, why would I? But she took it very personally, and because of that, it basically put the lie to her claim of being a pacifist, in my eyes. But a few months later, we were able to sit down and talk about it a little bit more, and she clarified that her view was pacifism on a national scale. So she didn't think military conflict was the way to solve international disputes. I happen to disagree. I posted this the second time. I think posting, commenting, libs of TikTok in full is auto-yeeted. I would not be shocked. I think libs of TikTok has... I have 4 likes and only 3 viewers. How'd that happen? But I think libs of TikTok has definitely exposed a very dark side to the LGBT rights push. I'm not going to test it, need to keep low profile, I hear you. And I'll say no more on that topic myself. But I believe they've pretty well canceled libs of TikTok everywhere. Last thing I remember hearing was that their Facebook account had been suspended, which is unfortunate, but not surprising. Anyway, back to work. Now, the very first thing I need to do is sort out my shirt. But once I have that done, I'm going to move this camera a little bit more. There we go. What I have to do is loosen this. This is going to be a bit of a loud bang when I release it. And that there. Oh, and that's still very sappy, as you can see. Not too concerned with that. I can scrape that or sand it pretty easily. Going to extend that out a little bit more this time. And I believe I hear one of my neighbors. I definitely hear one of my neighbor's dogs. I wonder if he's lost the dog again. Oh no, he's just having a conversation up in his driveway there. You will realize that Newfoundlanders are quite loud people. That all seems fairly secure. Let's go back to this. Okay, so this is actually cutting very nicely at this point. As you can see, I'm revealing quite a lot more of the hurtwood as I'm going here. Yep. Might have cut a bit too deep that time. Ow. Didn't need all that skin on that finger anyway. And of course, wearing boots with no socks, they keep getting shavings in there. And I'm just cleaning up this end as I'm going. And I'm finding a little bit of blue stain in the wood, which isn't surprising, but it's sometimes can indicate rot in the tree. But this was a very green branch when I found it, so this blue stain, there's a couple of different sources, but usually it's a bacteria that creates it. Shouldn't do people any harm that I know of. So I'm not terribly concerned about it being aerosolized. And I talk about this being a bit of a workout. Right at the moment, I'm actually using every muscle on my right side to keep the table against the wall, and anyway, as I was saying, I'm using every muscle in my left side to keep the table against the wall. I'm using my right leg to help push. Obviously, my shoulders and forearms are getting quite a workout. So, other than cardio, I'm not really missing a lot for exercise at this point. And once I have this side shaped, or at least stripped as much as I want, I'm most likely going to be taking a little break and go and do a little bit of a bike ride, because it's a beautiful day and I might as well make the most of it. So I'll get a little bit of cardio that way. I'll probably just ride down to the post office and check the mail. Okay, that was definitely heartwood. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm not sure how exciting this is. It seems fun to me, but I don't imagine it's terribly intellectually stimulating, of course. But there is something very peaceful and comforting about watching someone work. I guess that's probably why some of those how it's made videos are so popular. Now I'm just trying to move the dark heartwood line back a little ways and clean up some of the mess I've made so far. You can see the black mark here, I imagine. If you can't, there is a fairly significant black mark there. I believe that's coming from the paint on the back of the tool rubbing off, which really leaves me wondering why they would ever bother to paint these in the first place. But I'm not a tool maker. I'm a woodworker, Jim. Okay, once I get a few more shaves done on this, I'm going to actually take this off of the clamp and just show you where the progress has been made. And that's where I'll be ending for this stream. I don't think I can get deep enough there to get that, so... I made significantly faster progress on this side than I did on the other, which is good. Okay. Let's see if I can get a bit more off of you up here. I'm actually past the point. About here is where I'm planning to cut the flute off. But cutting it off from about here at this point would make it very difficult to work, so I'm not going to do that. And as I was saying earlier, what I'm going to do is expose as much of the heartwood as I can. Then I'm going to strip the bark off of this side, and the dividing line will be my guide. And that'll actually help me figure out exactly what shape I need, things like that. Okay. Let's see if I can get one good long stroke out of this. Yeah, okay. Get a few more of those, and then I'm going to have to be done. Mostly because I'm getting into the heartwood a bit too deep here. Because this isn't, mind your ears for a big bang again. As this isn't particularly straight, you can see a pretty significant bend right along here. I'm fairly sure that the heartwood probably does a bit of flexing somewhere in here, in this area. So you can see here where I've actually gone, there we go, part way into the heartwood here, and all of this lighter sapwood is what I'm trying to remove. That is incredibly sticky, and I shouldn't have handled that without gloves on. But that's the finished bit of work for this stream. You can see, actually I don't think you can from that angle. Man, that's sticky. Okay, so let me see here. Here, you should be able to see all this ridging here. This is where the tool was bouncing in that border area between the heartwood and the sapwood. On this side, this actually really shows you how beautiful that grain pattern is in juniper, and this color is just amazing once it's had a bit of time to age. So I'm going to be very pleased with the color of the flutes, or the flute rather, for sure. And I'm definitely going to have to be careful when I start to cut here. You can see, let me move that down. I don't know that you can actually see it very clearly, but right here the heartwood actually seems to take a bit of a bend. This may have been the base of the branch. And that would mean that that was where all the weight was, so there was flex. And of course I'm hooked up on something. So that's it for this stream. I'll be cutting this off here shortly. Still over an hour. Resembles a wooden leg, like a peg leg, you mean? I'll play with your wood, but I ain't no tool, Jim. Wet sticky wood, not going to test it. Okay, there. Blue stain. Yeah, it's, if I recall correctly from school, it's a sort of bacterial, some tree species are prone to. Juniper, I guess, being one of them. But other than discoloring the wood fibers a little bit, it doesn't make any real difference. What else have we got going on here? I'll play with your wood, but I ain't no tool, Jim. I just had to run out in the rain. Well, I feel bad for you. Cleaning off the porch this morning, now a bunch of my stuff is soaked. Yeah, I imagine, being that Louisiana is coastal and extremely humid, it's not too different from Newfoundland, where you can get rain real quick. And sometimes almost out of nowhere. Nice work, thank you. I appreciate it. Christopher says that resembles a wooden leg now. I'm guessing you mean like a peg leg. That does look, what? The Shades of Dominion says that does look like a nice shaft. Okay, so on that note, you guys have a good day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.